I purchased this one for review purposes. Remember, we give away a free Switch game each month, but more than that, we welcome everyone's opinions and thoughts, positive or negative, down in the comments. You're welcome to the SwitchUp family. The Walking Dead the final season just dropped on Nintendo Switch. What's more, Telltale have released the season pass for a truly delightful $19.99. What a bargain, thinks I, so I purchased on the spot. Well, be warned, you can't review a Telltale game and not include some spoiler content. I'll do my very best, but it's a story-driven game. With that being said, cue the classic SwitchUp pun. So, did this just shuffle onto the eShop, only to be stabbed in the head? Or does it walk in confidently, like an old friend, only carrying a chair leg covered in nails called chairlet? True fact. Let's find out. Clementine is coming of age, and with her, young AJ is also now no longer a baby. It's a fitting end to the series to see how the now teenage Clem is looking after a child the age she was when the series began. In a lovely change of focus, she now takes on the role of a parent. Decisions will shape the child in your care. This dynamic has been proven effective in games like The Last of Us. It also serves to ground the experience and give it meaning. Some choices seem small, but will have a huge impact on the story, so be careful what type of child you raise.
Would you prefer shitbird? No.
In many ways, the story mirrors your earlier experiences of a young Clementine being nurtured through a hellish nightmare by the stranger Lee. Only now you are that stranger, and you must not make the same mistakes. Subtle influence can be made even through your choice of what you offer AJ to pass his time. Rather than spamming you too often with, "so and so will remember that," the game states early on that AJ remembers everything you teach him. The coming-of-age narrative runs through this first episode. It resembles the film The Breakfast Club in more ways than one.
It is now 7:06. You have exactly 8 hours and 54 minutes to ponder the error of your ways. Any questions?
Yeah. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
You'll meet characters of a similar age to Clementine, which creates an entirely different emotional context for the story. For me, this was the strongest first episode of the series so far. I cared for the characters, I felt wiser to the tough decisions being offered. It was a more accomplished introductory narrative, and as such, story scores 19 out of 20. For those familiar with the series, it's nice to see the evolution of the control scheme. You're often able to control Clem from a third-person perspective. Unlike the isometric camera angles of old, you have 360-degree control. The left stick controlling your movement and the right the camera. The trigger can be used to run, and interaction with the world happens with the A button. You can pick up items to be used later on. When they are needed, this is automatic, no inventory management is used, which I thought was a bit of a shame. The quick-time events of old are here, and when the action does ramp up, the controls still, as the series has always done, feel a little bit tight. Perfect example is having to wait for an X or A button to appear before you can melee attack. Just feels strange and a little unnecessary. It works well enough, but I almost wish I could just manually melee and grapple. In these sections, it feels like it would be more natural. That gripe aside, I don't think it's going to change. And the quick time moments where you're fighting for your life offer some great hand trembling tension. I found a couple of earlier moments it wasn't overtly clear what could be interacted with, resulting in a few untimely deaths. Once I'd got reacclimatized to the way the game plays though, I was able to quickly react to the shifting sands of the undead apocalypse. Now, I mentioned in our story section of the coming of age feeling of this episode. This extends to some of the gameplay also. Whether it's enjoying a game of cards or fishing in the river, these slower paced sections do wonders to build a believable scenario with individuals you may love or loathe. Overall though, gameplay is more a slight evolution of the tried and true formula however. I found controlling the game much less clunky than previous iterations. The pacing was better than some episodes, but doesn't stray too far from the expected. There are some collectibles, and you can display these in your room. It becomes a base of sorts. Gameplay scores 16 out of 20. Visually, this is the best installment to date. The balance between comic book and realism seems to finally have been resolved. Strong bold lines punctuate more detailed faces, where improvements to the old engine now show much more detail in areas such as facial expressions. The character animations are much more fluid than previously seen, and the whole game looks a great deal more polished for it. Performance is also very good for the most part and offers a good experience, especially considering the graphical improvements. As has been the case with this engine since the beginning though, it does seem to have a few unusual stutters. The majority of the experience is a very good one, with some truly impressive details to the character models and environments. In handheld mode the experience holds up well, but again stutters in some of the most action-packed sequences. Visuals are excellent and they score 15 out of 20.
Sometimes I don't know.
As you can probably tell, sound and music are an absolute strong point of this series. The musical score that underpins the action is intense and dramatic, and sometimes soft and gentle. Characters are generally voiced to a very high degree indeed, and there's a lot of comical elements here as well.
Come on, y'all. Food's
AJ!
The Walking Dead has always done sound and music great as a series. It's a shame that the HD rumble isn't a little more pronounced here, but overall there's nothing really negative to say about the audio palette of this game, and it scores 19 out of 20. Earlier Telltale releases on the Nintendo Switch cost an absolute arm and a leg. I was shocked when Minecraft Story Mode launched at over £30, and it made no sense to me at all. The season pass for The Walking Dead is only $19.99. This will allow the download of all 4 episodes as and when they release. This, in my opinion, is bang on the money. The game took me around 3 hours to complete, and your decisions do have a large enough impact to mean some replayability is here. The price point and production values elevate this series above its runtime. Value scores 17 out of 20, and I cannot wait for the next episode to release. What a nice surprise it was to fire up the eShop and see the latest installment in one of my favourite series on Nintendo Switch. It's not overpriced, it looks amazing in both docked and handheld modes, and a story far more intricate than some of the earlier offerings from Telltale. It scores a final SwitchUp score of 86%. Let me know if you're a fan of the series and if you're going to be picking this one up. Remember, we give away a free Switch game each month to those who are subscribed. Smash that silly little bell thing and stay active down in the comments. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. See ya!